A dramatic legal battle has erupted between the Trump administration and the federal judiciary, sending shockwaves through the nation's political and legal landscape. The stakes are enormous as both sides dig in for what could become a defining confrontation over the limits of government power. At the heart of the conflict is a contempt of court investigation, personally ordered by U.S. District Judge James Boasberg. His decision has placed the administration under intense scrutiny, drawing national attention to the courtroom drama unfolding in Washington, D.C. The probe seeks to uncover whether top officials knowingly and willfully violated a federal court order that was designed to protect vulnerable Venezuelan migrants from deportation. The investigation has sparked outrage among immigrant rights advocates and ignited fierce debate within government circles. This escalating conflict is more than just a legal dispute. It's a test of the separation of powers enshrined in the Constitution, and a challenge to the executive branch's obligation to respect and obey judicial decrees, even when politically inconvenient. Judge Boasberg's inquiry follows his emergency order issued in March 2025, a move the administration has fiercely criticized as an unconstitutional overreach by the judiciary. The order has become a flashpoint, with both sides accusing each other of undermining the rule of law. In response, the Department of Justice has launched a series of aggressive legal maneuvers, including filing an emergency appeal to higher courts. Their goal: to halt the contempt proceedings and shield high-ranking officials from being compelled to testify under oath. The stakes could not be higher. The outcome of this legal standoff may set a powerful precedent, determining just how far the judiciary can go in holding the executive branch accountable for its actions and shaping the contours of American democracy. As the dispute intensifies, it lays bare the deep divisions and anxieties over the rule of law in a nation already riven by political polarization. The public watches closely, aware that the implications reach far beyond the courtroom. Ultimately, the resolution of this historic showdown will help define the balance of power between America's branches of government for years, if not generations, to come. The conflict began on March 15, 2025, when Judge Boasberg issued an emergency order blocking the Trump administration from deporting hundreds of Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador. The administration's plan relied on the rarely used Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which critics argued was an illegal overreach that endangered migrants. Boasberg's order provided a temporary shield, allowing the court to review the legal and humanitarian issues at stake. The administration defended its actions as necessary for national security, while civil rights groups called the policy cruel and unlawful. The judge's intervention paused the removals, ensuring due process for the migrants. This was not a final ruling, but a temporary restraining order to prevent irreparable harm. The order set the stage for a larger confrontation over the limits of executive power in immigration enforcement. It was this judicial act that would soon be directly challenged, igniting the current legal crisis. Despite Judge Boasberg's clear order, the administration proceeded with the migrant transfers, prompting the court to launch a contempt inquiry. The probe aimed to uncover who authorized the violation and whether it was intentional. Judge Boasberg signaled that no official, regardless of rank, was beyond scrutiny. After a series of appeals, the D.C. Circuit Court empowered Boasberg to continue his investigation. Court filings revealed DHS Secretary Kristi Noem personally authorized the transfers, citing DOJ legal advice. The focus shifted to whether senior officials knowingly defied the court. Boasberg ordered key DOJ lawyers, including Drew Ensign and Erez Ruveni, to prepare to testify. The stage was set for a dramatic examination of the administration's internal decision-making. The Department of Justice responded with a fierce legal counterattack, framing Boasberg's probe as a direct threat to the foundational principle of separation of powers that underpins the American system of government. This principle, designed to prevent any one branch from accumulating too much authority, was now at the center of a high-stakes legal showdown. In an emergency petition, DOJ lawyers argued that the judge was not only intruding into executive functions, but also overstepping clear constitutional boundaries. They warned that such judicial intervention could set a dangerous precedent, blurring the lines between the branches and undermining the independence of the executive. The DOJ described the investigation as both retaliation and harassment, insisting that criminal contempt proceedings are fundamentally an executive responsibility, not a judicial one. They claimed that allowing the judiciary to pursue such actions would erode the balance of power and threaten the integrity of executive decision-making. The DOJ also raised serious concerns about attorney-client privilege, arguing that compelling government lawyers to testify would undermine the confidentiality essential to effective legal counsel. They warned that such a move could chill open communication within the executive branch, making it harder for officials to seek honest legal advice, and ultimately weakening the government's ability to function. The administration demanded that the appeals court immediately terminate the contempt proceedings, or, at the very least, block DOJ officials from being forced to testify. They argued that anything less would risk irreparable harm to the executive branch's autonomy and its ability to govern without undue interference. In a bold and unusual move, the DOJ also requested that the case be reassigned to a different judge, accusing Boasberg of bias and suggesting that his continued involvement would further compromise the fairness of the proceedings. The legal battle now centered on a fundamental question: can the judiciary investigate executive actions without violating the constitutional limits that separate their powers? The answer would have far-reaching implications for the future of checks and balances in the United States. The administration's aggressive stance only escalated the conflict, turning it into a dramatic test of institutional power and the resilience of the nation's constitutional framework. The outcome of this confrontation would determine just how far courts can go in holding the executive branch accountable for its actions, and whether the judiciary can act as a true check on executive power. With the stakes for both branches higher than ever, the nation watched closely, knowing that the resolution of this battle could redefine the boundaries of American democracy for years to come. Judge Boasberg stood firm, defending his authority to investigate potential defiance of his orders. He argued the probe was about upholding judicial integrity, not prosecuting a crime. Courts must ensure their orders are followed, or risk losing their power to enforce the law. Boasberg clarified that his inquiry was a fact-finding mission, not yet a criminal prosecution. He focused first on the lawyers who advised DHS, showing restraint before targeting top officials. The judge denied the administration's motion to halt the probe, asserting the judiciary's inherent power to protect its functions. For Boasberg, this was about accountability. Court orders must be respected, even by the government. The message was clear: no one is above the law. At the center of the drama are DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, DOJ lawyer Drew Ensign, and former DOJ attorney Erez Ruveni. Noem authorized the migrant transfers, relying on DOJ legal advice, making her a key figure in the probe. Ensign, ordered to testify, is caught between his duty to the administration and his obligations to the court. The DOJ's fight to block his testimony is about protecting confidential legal advice. Ruveni, now a public critic, has accused the administration of ignoring court orders, offering a rare insider's perspective. Judge Boasberg's interest in Ruveni's testimony highlights the internal divisions within the government. Boasberg himself, under intense scrutiny, has become a symbol of judicial resolve. The actions of these individuals will shape the outcome of this high-stakes confrontation. With Boasberg pressing forward, the Trump administration appealed to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, seeking to halt the contempt probe. The court granted a temporary stay, pausing the investigation just before key witnesses were to testify. Judges Rao and Walker, both Trump appointees, formed the majority, emphasizing the stay was procedural, not a final ruling. The stay blocked testimony from Ensign and Ruveni, giving the administration a temporary victory. The dissenting judge would have allowed the probe to proceed, underscoring the case's contentious nature. The legal battle shifted from Boasberg's courtroom to the appellate court, where the core constitutional questions would be decided. The outcome at this level remains uncertain, with both sides preparing for a prolonged fight. The next chapter would play out in the higher court, with national implications. As of December 13, 2025, the legal battle has reached a tense standstill, with both sides locked in a waiting game that has left the nation's legal and political communities on edge. The D.C. Circuit's stay has effectively frozen all contempt proceedings, halting any immediate consequences, and pausing the momentum of the case. This move has allowed the Trump administration to delay a public examination of its actions, shielding key officials from testifying or facing penalties for now. Yet, beneath the surface, The underlying conflict remains deeply unresolved, with both legal teams preparing for a high-stakes showdown. In the coming weeks, the appeals court will review extensive legal briefs and hear oral arguments from both sides, each presenting their interpretation of constitutional boundaries. Central to the debate is whether Judge Boasberg's probe oversteps the separation of powers or infringes on the sacred principle of attorney-client privilege. The court faces several options. It could terminate the probe entirely, allow it to resume as before, or impose new, carefully crafted limits on how far judicial investigations into the executive branch can go. No matter which path the court chooses, the losing side is almost certain to appeal, likely sending the dispute to the Supreme Court for a final decision. At stake are fundamental questions about the judiciary's authority and its power to enforce orders against the highest levels of government. The outcome could redefine how, and even if, courts can hold the executive branch accountable when disputes arise. Ultimately, the Supreme Court may be called upon to decide the fate of the contempt probe, setting a precedent that will echo through future administrations. Their ruling could shape the boundaries of executive power and judicial oversight for generations to come. The legal fight is expected to stretch on for months, if not longer, as each side exhausts every legal avenue. The balance of power between the branches of government hangs in the balance, with the outcome poised to influence the nation's political landscape. The stakes reach far beyond the immediate fate of the Venezuelan migrants at the center of the case, touching the very core of American constitutional law and the principles that define our democracy. As the nation watches, the outcome of this case will help shape the future of executive accountability and the rule of law in the United States. This showdown is more than a dispute over a single court order. It's a test of American democracy's core principles. At stake is the balance between executive enforcement and judicial oversight. If court orders can be ignored, the judiciary's role as a check on power is undermined. A ruling for the administration could embolden future presidents to defy court orders. A ruling for Boasberg would reaffirm that no one is above the law. The outcome will set a precedent for how such conflicts are resolved in the future. As the case moves through the courts, it's a public test of America's system of checks and balances. The resolution will help define the nature of judicial power and executive responsibility in the 21st century.